present today. As we move to the first slide, of course, you see our organizational structure. So let's go back a little bit. And those are the people that you see seated here. And you also are able to see their areas of purview. I am so happy to have Ms. Henderson to join us as our Senior Operations Manager. Okay, next slide. As we look at our FY 2025 in terms of year in review and look ahead, the FY24 accomplishments, I want to take a moment to just thank Mayor Dickens and his administration for allowing us to be a part of the mayor's initiative for safe and secure housing. His staff has really put together a structure that allows us to operate in a more efficient manner. If you think about a year ago, as we were working with a nuisance committee that had different city departments, our numbers were at about 17, 18 properties, and we were happy to get 2 or 3 compliances. Well, with the structure that's been put in place by this administration and just our ability to assist in it, we have active cases now on 26 blighted properties, and they're in various stages of litigation, ranging from the inspections that are taking place. We participated in approximately 14 inspections. We also have had cases that have resulted in significant fines in Atlanta Municipal Court. We have had cases that have resulted in compliance, where the property has been brought up to code, and we have 7 to 8 compliances, which doesn't sound like a large number, but when you think about the significance and the number of people that are involved in multifamily dwellings, it does add up to a lot of people that are in better conditions. We have many cases that are still in pending litigation relative to all levels of the court system, not only in municipal court, but Superior Court and our state appellate courts. One of the things that I like to add that has really helped us in terms of moving forward, and I want to thank all the members of council that were involved in the lobbying and the meetings to have a successful passage of House Bill 404. As you know, the governor has signed off on that, and it for the first time recognizes a standard for dwellings to be fit for human habitation. I know it's just a baby step, but when you think about the state of Georgia and the history that we have had with strong laws that support landlords, it opens a whole new horizon for us in terms of coming up with standards for enforcement. And we want those standards to be, of course, applied to multifamily and residential dwellings. So we're very happy for the council's legislative agenda that pushed that forward. We have also initiated actions against 9 commercial establishments where criminal activity and code enforcement violations have led to nuisance issues. We are here for public safety. We want people to be safe when they are going to convenience stores, when they're going to gas stations, and when they're going to other establishments where people are able to try to do those things that we need to do to keep ourselves safe in society. I want to give special thanks to the Atlanta Police Department, especially the Field Operations Division that has worked with us with regard to closing down some of those establishments, but also having establishments to comply with the law. We're not here with a hit list to close down businesses. We want viable businesses in the city of Atlanta, But they have to follow the laws, they have to follow the rules, and we have to keep people safe. And so I just want to bring special attention to APD, especially Lieutenant Cotter and his division with license and permits that has worked to make many of these establishments safer. The other accomplishments actually crosses over 2 budget periods, and that's the development of the new case management system for the Solicitor's Office, which is there to improve and track the initiation and the follow-up on cases throughout the system. Our goal is to increase employee work productivity and efficiency. And in fact, this particular project actually is going to have an impact with regard to our vacancy rate, which you'll see later in our slides, because it's actually being phased in over 2 budget periods. And so it has an impact on the vacancy rate because there are many positions that have not been filled yet, but we hope will be filled by the end of the calendar year with regard to this new system. With One Safe City for All, the Office of City Solicitor, of course, is very supportive of the mayor and the city council in the way that you have streamlined the process for us to aggressively prosecute code violations and nuisance actions on behalf of the city. We have also recently acquired a contractor to conduct property inspections necessary so that we can move back to processes like judicial in rem, which we've had with the city before. But one of the things that we found is that that was an area that required that an inspector have a special state certification. We have now been successful with the help of the administration of securing that inspector so that we can move forward with judicial in rem. And I understand that there are discussions going on with some of our county officials regarding the judicial in rem process. We also continue to educate our recruits as we come in with more officers on the street. And we are very interested in helping them with techniques in the apprehension and, of course, the prosecution of criminal and traffic offenses. Because when we have things that don't go right, of course, it has consequences for the city. And so we're very happy to work with APD to help them with regard to arrest techniques, with charging decisions, with those decisions of incarceration and transporting that help us through our police academy that we hope for in terms of the end of this year. We're also pursuing efforts to reinstate the DUI and high-intensity traffic enforcement. There was a pullback during the pandemic because of needs in the police zones, but we're happy to be a part of an effort to reinstate that specific training for DUI, racing, aggressive driving, fleeing and eluding, those types of offenses that really lead to a very dangerous situation for our citizens on the streets. A city built for the future. Our efforts in that area is to continue to research and adopt and implement prosecution policies and techniques by using technology to further increase our efficiencies. We're trying to educate our staff on the gaps in those, and we all realize that AI is upon us. AI has a trust gap. Well, I think it should have a trust gap, because when you start talking about replacing human judgment, that can be very dangerous. So what we have done is we've looked at across some of the research across the country with prosecutors' offices, and you'll find that prosecutors have been very, very slow to embrace AI. Obviously, it's here, it's coming stronger. We know it's going to be a more and more of a part of all the functions of our society, but we want to make sure that prosecutors and judges continue to make decisions on a case-by-case basis, taking in the facts and the evidence, and make sure that those decisions are based on sound legal judgment as opposed to running some numbers through a computer for percentages. So I wanted to take a minute to make a statement about that, to have you to understand the prosecutor's perspective on the incorporation of AI into the things that we do. Of course, we're going to continue to train staff on technology, as I mentioned with the case management system. We will be doing that throughout this year. It's been layered over 2 budgets, and we're very happy that the Department of Finance has been working with us to make sure that we get that finally implemented. Let's talk about a city of opportunity for all. This is an area that's very near and dear to my heart as a product of Atlanta and a citizen of Atlanta, and that is providing opportunities for our young people. Internship programs for high schoolers, for college and law students, and we are working very hard to try to have people to become interested in pursuing a career in public service. Well, one way that you do that is through exposure. You have to get them into the programs and expose them to the system. All too often, our young people see the criminal justice system from the wrong side of the table. Either somebody's in trouble or somebody's family is in trouble. We want them to know that the criminal justice system is here for us all to ensure fairness and justice, and we have to give them the exposure as early as we can. So we have programs that we work with, particularly with the Atlanta Public Schools, the Young Litigators Program, where we expose them to various aspects of the criminal justice system and actually have them work on cases and participate in cases so that they can see that it's all not about just, lock them up, throw away the key, punishment, with them out understanding what it's for. They always tell us that there are 2 categories of criminals, that there are those that do things through omission, and there are those that do things through commission. And so there are people that we get mad at, and then there are people that we're scared of. Those people that we're afraid of, those are the people that we want to use the proper tools to make sure that those people are removed from a position to harm us in society. And so we are very, very strong in terms of our sentencing recommendations to make sure that people understand that their conduct has to be corrected. We also are very supportive of the mayor's youth initiatives, and we are seeking to do all that we can to be supportive of the midnight basketball programs and other things that we can do in terms of engaging our young people to keep them busy toward things that are positive. We're also happy for the opportunities that you all provide for us to engage the community, our senior citizens and other people in our community, regarding some of the things that can really impact us. Commercial harassment, thank you all for passing that ordinance that basically guards against people being harassed out of their property. They should be able to peacefully reside in their property and pass it on to their families without having to be victims of scams and schemes. So when we do these things and when you all provide us these opportunities through your council districts to give assistance to people in terms of informing them about telemarketing scams, cybercrime. We also are happy for the opportunities to offer people our programs, the DEV programs for home repair. And to all of our citizens, we will continue our efforts to spread the message regarding diversion programs and record restriction programs. With regard to ethical and efficient government, we're happy to be one of those departments that have 100% online 100% on time submission for financial disclosure. Thank you, Ms. Graham. And we're happy to demonstrate our skills in advocating for people to be responsible for what you do. So our prosecutorial discretion is geared toward having people to understand that we don't want to see you back here. We don't want repeat violations. We want you to be a law-abiding citizen. We think that's a very strong and an ethical stance to take, and that's what we demonstrate through our policies and our sentencing recommendations. And we will continue to try to strengthen our relationships with our external parties to just demonstrate transparency, procedural integrity, and professionalism. At this time, I would like to turn the remainder of our presentation over to Ms. Sandra Thomas so she can go through some of the financial information that's pertinent.
Speaking of the position count, the funded position account, for fiscal year 24, we were funded for 88 positions. With that being said, we're now looking at, we created 22 positions, and those 22 positions were created for funded positions that were funded for the nuisance activities for the Mayor's Safe and Secure Housing Initiative, and we created 13 positions for our case management system and customer service initiatives, for the most part. The impact of the vacancy rate is attributed to those vacant positions that were created during the mid-year personnel paper, positions that are tied to the implementation of the case management system, and we feel that we will be implementing this phase through 2 budget periods, the remainder of this calendar year and through fiscal year 25. That is what's attributing to that 23.63% vacancy rate, and it's basically because of those positions, those 22 positions that were created during the mid-cycle of the budget. Moving on to slide 5, what you see there is a position that we have for water and wastewater. Watershed is funding an attorney position for us. That position was vacated as of March of this year. So we are looking at doing an internal promotion there, and we're looking at doing an internal promotion for that part, and we should have that filled pretty soon. The next slide, slide 6, it basically talks about major year-over-year changes. The things that probably stand out to you are supply account 931. You see that amount of $9,312. That is based on decrease in water consumption usage. Other financing usage, which is there's no anticipated GMA lease payments for vehicles in fiscal year 2025. With that being said, I guess that's it for that one. Going on to slide 7, you see that increase in our personnel resources of 110. So that includes the 22 positions that were added for fiscal year 24. Slide 11 picks that up again, and that's only talking about, that speaks of what we have in the solicitor's office hierarchy, what the solicitors have that's shown in their general fund, and that position of that Watershed is funding for us at a total of 110,526. And that wraps up our operation.
Thank you, and we are open for your questions.
Spooner, you're ready? If not, I've got some questions. Okay, thank you. Okay, so looking at your budget, and this has been the case with some other departments, under the line item other financing uses, there's been a lot of bouncing around here from over $500,000 to $6,000 to zero. So could you explain us on what's represented there?
Say that again.
Could you acquaint us with the other financing uses, which has gone from $500,000 to $6,000 to zero? Yeah. So then you've explained your vacancy situation. And you may have given me the answer already, but it didn't take. So 7 new positions have been or are being created around the mayor's Safe and Secure Housing Initiative. Could you tell us a little bit more about what those 7 people are going to be doing?
7 positions are vacant.
Is your mic on?
Hear me now?
Yep.
The 7 positions were created for the prosecution and litigation of the nuisance cases. We added attorneys, some support staff to help them, and that's really what it was created for.
And then you've lost a person funded by aviation.
Yes.
And had that normally been one person over a protracted period of time? And what kind of cases or activities was that person devoted to?
I think Mr. Carter or Ms. Smith could better tell you about that one.
That position was actually in Watershed to prosecute the Watershed cases with theft of services.
Then just some baseline questions. I'm not on public safety, so you may have already given those answers to that committee. How's your caseload trending?
Our caseload has been trending upwards since the pandemic. And what we are finding is that the traffic violations, and that's why I'm happy that the court created high-intensity traffic division. The traffic violations regarding aggressive driving, racing, and speeding has just increased tremendously. We have several speeding cases that are well over 100 miles an hour. And so we have been working diligently to make sure that we do some additional preparation on those cases. You also will continue to see a trend upward with regard to code violations. One reason, of course, is the creation of the Safe and Secure Housing Initiative, but the other reason is actually for the full funding and the filling of the positions in the Code Enforcement Division with APD. Between 12 and 18 months ago, they were down to maybe about 7 or 8 people. They're now up to about 24, 25 people. So we're getting more inspections, more enforcement in those areas, as we should. So that is going to continue to have that caseload to go up. And there are a couple of things about that. As we are processing the cases, it is significant that we continue to monitor those cases, because once cases are complied over time, they can fall back into disrepair. So it's going to be a continuous process as we look at these cases. And with the passage of 404, with the House Bill 404, we're going to see more of a focus on properties being fit for human habitation. And that goes with multifamily dwellings and single-family dwellings. So we expect those cases to continue to trend upward.
Okay. I was a little startled to hear about your AI in courtroom anxiety, because it would seem to me that virtually the entirety of the Constitution is filled with language that would prevent those things from happening. So give me some examples of what you're concerned.
Well, it's creeping into the legal system in very significant ways. Number one is that there are AI programs now that are taking and passing the bar exam. It's not even a person. And so it's registering as a bar exam passage. The other thing that's happening now is that our federal court system is taking the lead on having research being designated as AI generated, because what it has the ability to do is to write a brief, and caused that brief to be submitted under the name of Raines Carter, and Raines Carter has never seen it. So those are the types of things that we have to be very, very careful about, because when we have something that has the ability to mimic human judgment, that can be a problem. One of the things that we read in an article was that there are some prosecutors' offices that have been approached by researchers about feeding in information into an AI system to help them determine their sentencing recommendations. So that would be a matter of inputting some statistics. And what happens is those statistics are always skewed, and they're skewed in many ways by cultural biases. They're also skewed by some of the issues that you have with numbers. AI has a tendency to go off on tangents based on the numbers, and they say, oh, well, if you had 10,000 DUI cases, that means then that all DUI should be handled as felonies. Well, that's not the case. State law has a specific threshold before a DUI case is handled as a felony. And so an AI system will have prosecutors prosecuting people under the wrong charge. So those are some things that give us pause. Now, is it here? Yes, it's here. Is it coming? Yes, it's coming. But it should be a tool that should be utilized to help gather information, but not replace the analysis and the judgment of that information.
I almost wish I hadn't asked that question. So I read that the mayor's going to launch an anti-graffiti initiative of some kind. I don't know what that looks like. Do you all know what that's going to look like? Because I assume you'll be involved in it.
Yeah, at this point, I have not been involved in the meetings, but I certainly look forward to it. We really need strong graffiti enforcement, and we need some mechanisms in terms of identifying when and how these things would occur so that we can have proper evidence to prosecute them. So I haven't been involved at this point.
Well, so when DPW was up here, I asked them about it because I assume they're going to be involved, and they said, well, it may be more ATL DOT.
Okay.
But I reminded them of something you will remember. I forget when it was, 6 or 7 years ago. There were like 4 or 5 of Atlanta's most industrious taggers all got arrested at the same time, which initiated such a public outcry that the charges were dropped. So I'm a little skeptical, wondering why next time is going to be any different. That the answer was, well, there may be some other sort of incentives to, get taggers to be more sort of productive about what and where they're doing, and to try to bend the needle over into more of an artwork situation. The other part of that ask being, hey, could you stop what you're doing in terms of bridges and, the stuff that tends to drive people crazy. But so you'll be told about that. How are your party house cases trending? Because as you know, nothing, well, there are very few things that are such a thorn as deeply in the side of a community than a chronic party house where nothing seems to change.
Absolutely. Let me ask Ms. Smith to give you an update, because we're presently involved in some issues with party houses.
With the party houses, we are seeing an uptick with the party houses. And we've been meeting with members of council, and we're trying to not only cite them and bring those cases in municipal court, but also bring those cases to superior court to get injunctive relief to stop them, to get an order to say you cannot participate or have that type of activity in a residential home.
Well, and part of this is an APD responsibility, right? I mean, if they show up and there's a wild party and they shut it down, but don't cite anybody, then that's really not doing anybody any good.
But again, with our office, we still use that call of service. We still use that. in order to make our case and take that case either to Superior Court or in municipal court. Because in municipal court, we can still bring a nuisance action against that particular house, or in the alternative, get injunctive relief in Superior Court.
And one last question, Raines, when I told you I wasn't going to ask about noise ordinance citations, you seem disappointed, so I'm going to ask.
Thank you.
How are
Thank
those?
you.
How are those?
It doesn't
trending?
seem like a budget hearing without
I
it,
know.
so I really appreciate
I
it.
apologize.
We had an opportunity over this past year, budgetary period, to have 30 noise ordinance cases. Out of those 30 cases, 27 were successfully prosecuted. We had fines imposed. Our highest fine was actually on a commercial establishment, and it was over $1,400. Our lowest fine was someone that did a plea agreement, and it was about $150. But I will say that I am happy to see the ordinance have some impact. I think we can use it more in other areas, obviously with party houses and some of the other problems that we're having. And what I like for us to keep in mind is that a lot of places really aren't enforcing their noise ordinance at all. And I hope we continue to have this exchange, because I really appreciate you sitting down with me and helping us put it together. We actually took a lot of that information from the city of Athens with the University of Georgia and some of the partying and things that were going on there. And we've now been able to apply that to some of the industrial and construction issues that we're having. And a $1,400 fine is significant. We are going to continue to use our sentencing recommendations to get people's attention, especially with all this unnecessary noise that's going on with parties. So thank you for allowing me to report on that.
Well, during the pandemic, when we were all stuck at home, I mean, everyone just grew rabbit ears when it came to the behavior of your neighbors. So I want to thank you and your leadership for adopting the Athens model to us. My impression, you tell me if I'm wrong, is it may be imperfect. To the extent that it's imperfect, it's probably a people issue, but it's probably working far better than the earlier iterations, right?
I agree, absolutely.
All right. Anyone with questions or comments? Ms. Boone, or Ms. Overstreet, or Ms. Overstreet.
Thank you, Solicitor Carter. Just on yesterday, we had a huge win with your office. An address on Spreading Oak had so many violations for years, and it finally will be in court, thanks to your office and to Deputy Smith. They got right on top of it. The neighbors were very happy. That's just one instance of immediate action that has been taken by your office. The elderly have been serviced. When they have tickets, they are able to speak with one of the solicitors, or someone will actually meet them in the lobby and help them with those issues. We so appreciate your office. We've had so many wins. The housing code with this new team that you have, they are very aggressive. For years, Deputy Smith did this work alone, and I was glad to see her have a little help. She would be out on Baker's Ferry, Carroll Heights, dealing with all types of issues. So thank you for sending her some much needed help. The community outreach programs, your folks showing up at the job fairs, showing up at midnight basketball, going out on detail up and down M.L. King Jr. Drive, Fairburn Road, Donnelly Hollowell. Thank you all so much, and thank the entire team. The list could go on and on and on, but the community has had so many wins under your leadership. I would like to see when things happen like the Citco gas station, I think we definitely need to probably work on those before they get to court. Before they actually get to court, we need to try to shut some of those type businesses down, because that one, even though we fought, it still has some issues, but we fought until we couldn't fight anymore. We've got to try our best to stamp those issues out of the community. The Yellow Store, the Bull, we're working on those now, right now. But because of your office, we have made progress. And I will send you a list of my accomplishments through your office, because there may be things that you don't know that you all have done. So I just want to thank you again for serving the citizens, particularly in Southwest Atlanta. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. That was quite detailed. I appreciate that. I was looking at it in my office while we were holding our meeting. So mine is both. We've had some wins, but we still have some sticky spots that we just cannot seem to get past. Some major ones, like the old Westgate, that is clearly something that needs to be taken care of. When I look at it, it reminds me that we've got some issues with enforcing our code enforcement ordinances, because it's clearly in violation each and every day for this entire 7 years that I've been on council. And we've held that owner's hand, Abe Asher, through thick and thin, trying to get past where we are with him and that property, and it's still the same. So that to me means that we still have work to do. The Early Learning Center directly across from it, same. It slaps me in the face, lets me know that we still have some things that we just cannot get past. And for some reason, I was excited about the fact that that place was gonna be, it's pivotal. I mean, it's at 285, 66 and Campbellton Road. We can't let these bad investors, these people that don't care about Southwest Atlanta, keep wreaking havoc on our community. And every time I pass by it, I'm floored. I'm like, why aren't our processes working? Because it certainly isn't because of lack of us trying. I know my office contacts you constantly about these exact same spots. And I just really want us to figure out a way to speed up the process. I know we've given examples and just gone back and forth about how we can, but it doesn't seem like for these type of sticky situations that it's been working. When do you expect for that Early Learning Center to be demolished? Because it was on the books to be demolished. I was told that somebody didn't make it to court, so it didn't get demolished.
Okay. Ms. Smith, would you like to give an update?
Council member, I can speak with you offline about it, because it is in litigation, and I did send an email this afternoon regarding 3190 Campbellton Road. So yeah, I'll get with you with an update on it.
So in general, let's speak about what the processes are, and like, is it a budget item that we need? Like, what's happening where buildings that we can all agree should be demolished are not being demolished?
Well,
how can we?
Well, we need to get an order for demolition for that particular building, and I do believe that can be done with the current conditions, because that particular building had an incident at the building. But again, I will speak with you offline about it, because it is something that I did send an email about today.
Okay. All right.
I have an answer for you that I will, say publicly. I am going to continue to work to get something done. I pass by those same two buildings, and I get a feeling in my gut about why hasn't this happened. I will share with you that through the initiatives that we've been discussing with the mayor's office, we are going to focus on that particular area. The daycare center is even in a worse condition than what we've been talking about this past few years. And the whole shopping center is part of the discussions that we're having now about restarting some of the processes that we used to have with judicial and REM and some of those processes. They are having some conversations. The administration is having some conversations with Fulton County about that. I would like to let you know that there's one difference now. We have now onboarded a contractor that can specifically meet the state certification that's needed toward demolition. Our normal inspectors that we have with APD Code Division and with zoning or some of our other, they don't have that specific state certification. We worked with the Department of Procurement and we put out bids. We now have somebody. So that was one of the glitches that happened. We have that person on board as of, I believe, March. Was it March? As of March of this year. So our intention is to utilize that for some movement so that we're not looking at 6, 7 years, no change. We need to have some changes in that. I will tell you that working as an attorney, litigation can be very frustrating. It can be a long and winding road. And we see that in our national headlines. But I will say that it takes a commitment and a focus, and that's what you're going to have in that area, because I drive by there myself, and I don't feel good when I drive by there.
I don't either. I feel terrible, as a matter of fact. We had the kickoff for DPW's Operation Clean Sweep Phase 3 at Greenbrier the other day, and I had to leave from there to pass that same area, and I thought, we've got a whole lot of people on this side of town today that's not here every day. It's too bad that they have to see this dilapidation, and it's worse than it's ever been. So in your view then, so you're thinking that your department has the right size and the correct budget in order for us to get this done, or I just want to make sure that if it's something that I can do, something more that I can do legislative-wise, or what else can I do to make sure that buildings like this aren't a nuisance or in looking the way they look for years. That's a lot of pass-bys that I have to pass by, and everyone in the whole area has to pass by to see that in that condition. It makes it look like we could care less.
Councilmember, both of these properties, 3131 and 3190. 3131 is the Westgate Shopping Center, and 3190 is the daycare center. Both of them are in active litigation, and we will see something, some movement with 3190. As Mr. Carter stated, we do have the certified building inspector to give us the assessment on that particular building, and so litigation will move forward quickly.
Okay. All right, well, listen, we're here to support you. We're here to give you the funds and the funding and the legislation you need in order to carry out the things that we're always demanding of you. And I just don't want y'all to forget that we're here to support you. That's what I'm here for.
We appreciate it. You've been more than supportive. We appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you. I yield.
I wanted to let my colleagues know about the new, if they aren't on public safety, they need to try the new team out that came before us. We've got a lot of results very quickly. They are very aggressive. We want them in those businesses, on those houses.
Yes.
It's a team of people. They ride around, just like Ms. Smith used to do by herself for many, many years.
Yes.
And they get results. We really need them to be out there because they get results. I mean, these blighted apartments and all of that, we should not limit what they do. If you have not tried them, try them. In 3 weeks, my MPU, they were shocked. They got some good results. So that's a wonderful team.
We'll
That's a
continue.
wonderful team.
We'll continue to move
Let's
forward
give them the
diligently.
tools that they need. I want to make sure that they get the tools they need.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Apparently, that is going to conclude y'all's presentation. Once again, of course, thank you for all you do, and we look forward to supporting you in any way that we can. All right.
Okay, thank you.
The lighting is terrible. Are y'all the public defender's office out there? I tell you what, we can come on up. We can do the transition. I'll be back.